First thing I'm going to mention as I'm getting to the truck is my fire extinguisher. It's properly secured to the vehicle. The pin is in place. It's properly charged. While I'm talking about my emergency equipment, I'm also going to talk about my 3 reflective triangles. They're amber in color. They're properly stored. Amber in color and orange. And I also have 3 circuit breakers and 3 fuses. I'm going to get into the truck with my 3 points of contact. Close my door. First thing I'm going to talk about is my mirrors. My mirrors are properly secured to the vehicle. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They're clean, they're clear, and there's not anything there that would obstruct my vision. All of my mirrors are adjusted to me. All of my mirrors are adjusted to me. From there, I'm going to talk about my windshield. My windshield is not cracked, bent, or broken. There's no illegal stickers, no chips, anything that would impede my vision. It's clean. I'm going to talk about my weather stripping. My weather stripping is not cracked, bent, or broken. It's not leaking. There's no abrasions, bruises, or cuts. My windshield wiper arms are properly secured to the vehicle. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. My windshield wiper blades are properly secured to my windshield wiper arms. They're not cracked, bent, or broken. They're properly secured. And my weather stripping, my windshield wiper blades are in firm contact with my window, and all of its rubber is in place, not dry rotted, cracked, no abrasions, bruises, or cuts. My seatbelt has all of its mounting points. It's properly mounted. The seatbelt itself, another point down there. The seatbelt itself is not torn, ripped, or frayed, or missing. I'm going to make sure that it latches and unlatches, and that the seatbelt adjusts to me. So now that I've checked all that stuff, make sure that my window rolls up and down, which it does. And now I'm going to start my safe start. So to do my safe start, first thing I'm going to do is I would depress my clutch. Make sure that my shifter is in neutral. Clutch all the way to the floor. Start the vehicle. Slowly release my clutch. So my ABS light came on and off on my dash. Came on and off on my trailer, showing that it's working. And check my gauges. So I have my oil pressure gauge. My oil pressure is starting to build. It should immediately start to build. It should be in between 30 and 60. My temperature gauge is, all my gauges are working. My temperature gauge should be between 180 to 180 to 190 degrees. My voltmeter should be between 12 and 15 volts. And my air tank should be building, and they should stay between 120 and 140 psi. So now I'm going to start checking everything that I can check with the engine running. And I'm going to start off with my indicator lights on my dash. My right turn signal is working. My left turn signal is working. My headlights and my high beams. All of my lights are working. My dash lights up. I'm going to check my windshield wiper. Make sure that they work and squirt. And they do. Working my way to the right, I'm going to talk about my defroster. I'm going to make sure that it works in case I'm in cold and my windows are fogged up. Defroster works. I'm going to make sure that my body vents work for heat in case it's cold, and for my legs. So all of my heating system works. I'm going to make sure that my horn works, my city horn, highway horn, both of those work. And that will be it as far as making sure everything in the truck works. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to purge my air system so that I can make sure, I also forgot to make sure that my four-way flashes work. So for the first step of my brake test, I'm going to check my parking brake and my trailer brake. And to do that, I first have to purge the system so that I can make sure that it's at 120 and 140 psi before I begin this test. So I'm going to press the brake a few times to make that pressure drop. Then I'm going to give it some gas. So so that I can build it back up and make sure that it purges. It should purge between 120 and 140 psi. Alright, so you heard the system purge. For this next step of the test, I'm going to start by checking my parking brake. So to test that, I'm going to press my clutch all the way to the floor. I am going to put in its lowest gear, which is first gear. So now I have the vehicle in gear. And I'm going to test my tractor brake first. So I'm going to release my trailer brake. So I'm going to slowly release the clutch, and the truck should, you should feel resistance. The truck shouldn't move. Release the clutch. Okay. So you can see the truck didn't go anywhere. I'm going to test it one more time. Alright. So now I can reset that brake. Now I'm going to test my trailer brake. I'm pushing in the brake for my truck. And slowly release the clutch again. It shouldn't move. Alright, that's once. Check it one more time. Twice. So now I'm going to push in both of those brakes, and I'm going to test my service brake. So to test my service brake, what I'm going to do is I'm going to release the clutch. I'm going to move forward at about 5 miles per hour. I'm going to lightly hold the steering wheel, and I'm going to press the brake and make sure that my truck doesn't veer to the left or the right. Alright? So slowly releasing the clutch. My truck is moving. Stop. It didn't veer to the left or the right, showing that my brakes are in adjustment. It properly stopped. So everything's good. So that is the end of the first part of my test. So I'm going to put my gear back into neutral. I'm going to release the clutch. And I'm going to fan my brakes a few more times because I have to purge the system again before I start with the second part of the test. So pumping my brakes a few times to get the PSI to drop. I'm going to give it some gas to build it back up so I can purge the system. So you heard the system purge again. Now I'm going to turn the key off and I'm going to start my second part of the test. So I'm turning the truck off. I'm going to turn just my key back on. As I said before, ABS light came on, went back off on the truck and the trailer. And now I'm going to start with my leak test. So for my leak test, I'm going to hold my brake down for 1 minute. I'm going to make sure I lose no more than 4 psi in that minute. So I'm going to hold the brake. I'm going to pretend that I went to a minute. 57, 58, 59, 60. Release the brake. I'm going to let my examiner know that I didn't lose any more than 4 psi in that minute. For my second part of the brake test, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to fan my brakes down. I'm going to make sure that my 2 lights, or my buzzer, comes on before I reach 55 psi. So go ahead and start with that test. So as you can see, both of my lights came on, letting me know that I am down to a dangerously low level of air. So my low air pressure system is working. For the last part of my test, I'm going to continue fanning my brakes down, and around 40 psi, both my trailer and my tractor brake should pop out in case of an emergency. So we're going to finish up with this part of the test by continually fanning the brakes down until those pop out. Alright, they both have popped out, and I'm now done with this part of the test. The last thing I would do is I would ask my instructor, could they get out, my instructor or my trainer, can they get out and help me by walking around the truck and making sure that all of my lights work.